Hey everybody, it's Colette Baron-Reid. How you doing? It is September, my favorite month of the year, and we are here doing the Astro Oracle reading for this month of September. Now, I gave a reading of the energies that I saw for the month of September. It's kind of interesting because it's, when I tune in to energy, it's hard to kind of stick it in just a month, for example. So I actually see this particular energy spreading out until the end of November. So, but I still, the point is to take a look at each month by month. But one of the things that I want to go over quickly from something that I might not have really stressed is that we are moving into really important new times. And structures are indeed coming apart so that they can be rebuilt. And there's always that last hanged man's kick that they call it, where, the last kick at the can, which actually comes from, the idea that the death throes of something. So the level of repression energy that I mentioned in the other recording is really also about power and that power structure that isn't working anymore, that we know isn't working anymore. And it's very archaic almost. It's almost like the world in which we see is the old world is old and it's got to go. But it doesn't happen overnight. And I think that's the thing. It's the idea of the caterpillar in the cocoon. It takes a minute before it becomes the butterfly. And that in-between piece, that in-between phase can be quite destabilizing, especially when we're feeling that power and that sense of wanting to rebel against it. So it's really important to not the repression suppression energy exists, but that doesn't mean to be quiet. If it is your way, because I feel energetically, I feel very rebellious right now. Energetically, I may not speak to it in a way that is divisive, etc. But what I am focused on doing is to take my place in changing things. And so don't when I say, be careful what you speak, etc., make sure you want what comes out of your mouth and you're willing to take the consequences of that. It's not to say anything, right? So that's the other thing. It's not to be quiet, because this isn't the time. This is the time for that revolutionary, rebellious energy. That's why we feel like we're chafing against restraints. So this is what I wanted to lead with before we get into this. And there's going to be some great highlights in September for all signs of what can come. These kind of snapshot of what's possible starts to show up for us here. So listen, we know that between now and the end of the year, it's going to be a roller coaster, but we have ways in which we can reflect on it and take our place in a way that's healthy for us, right? Okay. Now, the way I do this, for those of you who are new, the Astro Oracle reading is a semi-prediction prescription for each sign with the idea in mind that you're going to get 3 cards. So this is not just the horoscope you read in the paper where the Cancer person reads this. So say you look at first your sun sign, then your rising, and then your moon, or ascendant. So in my case, I'm a Cancer with Libra rising and moon in Leo. So I would look at those 3 things. You're a triple Scorpio, you would just go to Scorpio and realize it'll be more intense. Or maybe you're, a double Aries with a Libra moon, right? So you look at just those 2 signs and recognize that whatever is said is, again, you have to see how it fits with you. It's not like a one size fits all. Okay. And interpretation is really important. You interpret what I say according to what makes sense to you. Now, I decided to use Guides of the Hidden Realms, my latest deck that I painted, because I channeled this deck. Like, these guides are these living beings that have come through that have a message. So what we're going to look at is which of these guides in the hidden realms are choosing you, like what sign to give you a message, right? So we're going to start with Aries. And this is again for the month of September. So what we're looking at here. Oh, so this is interesting. The burden of choice. So this is a card that is in the upside down, we call protection, or it's the reversed. And this is about consequences, unconscious choice making. It's about the burden of choice, and it is about weighing what you're responsible for. You must choose, is what it's saying, right? So what this means, and I'll pull up the book too. So for Aries, this month, you have to remember you get a second chance, right? So if you do something you don't like the consequences, this kind of shadow pattern of pushing forward and being obstinate, or in any way being too impulsive, and again pushing forward too quickly, or feeling that your way is the only way. But don't punish yourself. Who cares that you did it again? That's the other thing. You get an opportunity to do something different. So keep that in mind. If in fact you do push and then it comes back to you that wasn't necessarily the outcome that you wanted, you get to do things over again in September. Okay. You get to make new choices. This is a great month for you to make new choices and to sit for a second. Sorry, I'm squinting because I got something in my eye. Anyhow, so that's for Aries. Now I put the card back, and that guide is going to be your ally this month. Okay. Now let's see who's here for Taurus. Taurus, the emergence of true knowing, intuition, rigorous honesty, and inventory. So for Taurus, now Taurus, you are a little bit more methodical about the way you go about things. Now you can be pretty stubborn too. We know this about Taurus. We also know that you're very sensual, and that you're, that touchy-feely, earthy quality that you have can really serve you this month, because you're being able to show the practical sense of your intuitive knowing. So you're going to be very keenly aware of the consequence of your choices, and be able to actually act in such a way that the consequence will be something you can really live with. So this is a terrific month for Taurus, around also around keeping track of the relationship between thoughts and matter for you, right? Like, oh, I kept thinking that, and I start seeing this, I see this correlation. Great time for you to sit down and really do an inventory on the relationship between your thinking and the outer world. Also on how you respond or react to information that you're taking in from media sources, etc. But we actually don't need a media source to tell us what's going on in the world, because we feel it. And that's the thing. It's like, everybody is plugged in, because we're part of this vast network of energetics, that it's in frequency. And these are not woo-woo new age terms. This is true. This is just truth. And that's one of the truths that I believe, because that's the whole thing about Pluto going back into Capricorn, and now next year we're going to go really deep into the Aquarian concepts right now. And then the whole planet Uranus is having a conversation with us about truth, and about, like, I need truth. Everything is about how do we tell the truth. And this card, this being is saying for you, your truth can be felt in your body, and you know what it is. And that when you are really honest with how you're feeling, you will make the right decision 100%. Okay, so now let's take a look at Gemini. Here we go, Gemini. Which being is picking you? Oh, also the burden of choice. But in your case, so you also got the same one as Aries, but it's different. For you, it's about your way in which you communicate. So this is about, how do you speak to what is in front of you? So the choices of words. Do you want the burden and the consequence of, in some respect, that, like, you're willing to play that, like you're willing to roll the dice and go, you know what? Yes, because I know I need to choose the way that feels right for me. This is personal for Gemini. And when you say choose, it's what you talk about. It's what you teach. It's what you communicate with. It's your relational way in which you communicate with others, and recognizing what is unconscious in you, and then what you can bring into consciousness. And that's a really important choice. Let me read you a couple lines from that, given that we had this card twice, but this one was upright, and it will be a little different. So each moment carries within it the possibility and promise of choice. No matter how long we've been doing something, with our next action, we can pick another way. Each choice comes a responsibility. The consequence, remember to wear the world loosely, and this burden will be much lighter. This is the fork in the road card, where you have one path or another path, and it's just really picking the right path for you. Again, this is about how do I want to communicate who I am to the world. This is a really, and again, everybody's being required to sit with ourselves this month and say, like, what is my output? What do I bring? What is it that I'm bringing? So that's for Gemini. Now let's look at Cancer. Do they want to go back in the deck? I have to ask them again. No, they said it's okay. What is holy? What is true? One of my blue beings that I channeled. This card for Cancerians is a very important card because it is all about appreciation and witnessing the grace of the divine in your life and in others. So for the Cancer, this again is this rigorous honesty that this, what we saw for Gemini, but in your case, it's a real spiritual honesty. Like, and what are my motives around this? Like, am I trusting in the divine? Am I saying, because sometimes I am a Cancer. So sometimes I'll know I'm a cardinal sign, means I'm going to be very, go towards something. And boy, am I ever tenacious. And I'm tenacious when I don't need to be. Sometimes that tenacity for the Cancerian personality is because we don't really trust and we want what is comfortable for us, and we're like the mommy types. So this is really saying that when we trust that the divine has our back and that we are here as a emissary of divine will, we will be use me as thou wilt. It should be in the mouth of the Cancerian this month in September. Cool. Let's look at Leo. Happy, healthy, wealthy, wise, mentorship, fulfillment, peace of mind, and service. Now, these little birds, I have two cards with these freaky little round birds, cotton ball birds. I don't know what they are, but they came to me and they were like, you have to put me in your deck. And they kind of come out of that cards when I look at them. So it's kind of cool. And then the flower was the one with the eye. It was like, I am flowering. My vision is flowering. So for Leos, it's about remembering the abundance this month that you have access to. And that abundance comes when you feel the fulfillment in advance of seeing it. So happy, healthy, wealthy, wise is a state of being. It's not necessarily, anything on the outside that made you happy, healthy, wealthy, or wise. It was more about, for certainly with wisdom, that's the integration of experience and knowledge. And then you have wealthy. Well, that's wealthy when you can count your blessings. And healthy is about how am I treating my body this month, right? And then happy is like, what blisses me out? Like yesterday, I had the best time. I'm working with the Coen brothers on a music project. And I was really resistant because I thought, I was just a has-been. I keep going through that. Like, I don't know if it ever occurs to you and you want to go do something. It's a hobby now, but it was a really great experience yesterday. And I thought, right, like, am I happy? This blisses me out when I do this. It doesn't have to go anywhere. I just have to do it. I never expected my paintings to go anywhere. They just did. So it's like just turning yourself over. The reason I brought that up is that Leo is all about creativity and playfulness, right? So don't forget that, Leos, this month. And remember, what is your bliss? Because then you can share that with others in that generous spirit that you have. Okay, now let's take a look at Virgo. Virgo, treasures in the deep and dark, shadow work, healing wounds. So this is a very sacred month for the Virgo personality. And again, if you have your rising sign or your moon in Virgo, same. So this is about really taking a look at, again, being the month of beginning of needing to see the truth of all things, like where in you, where is the treasure in your shadows, right? Because that's what it's suggesting, that in that deep and dark, in that unconscious content, in the old patterns of even of your wounds, there is something really sacred and beautiful to bring with you. Like all of us are bringing our gifts to the world right now. That's what we're required to do. Many of us were born at this time specifically for this purpose, so like who are we and what are we offering? And for Virgo, and you are in Virgo month, before we move over at the end of the month to Libra, but it's very, it's a time of sacred health, the way you run your day. It's really seeing how far you've come, also the healing of these old wounds. Because sometimes the real truth is do we really want to hang on to those? Like, why do we hang on to those old stories about who we are and who we're not? Because we are so much more. Okay, so let's look at Libra. Letting go of stories this month, Libra. Surrendering attachments, releasing unconscious patterns. So, see the little gremlin on the bottom there? It looks so cute with the little story balloon. Notice that this being has their eyes closed. Like, some of them came to me with their eyes closed to say that I am dreaming of a better world, but that we dream the world into being. And there's a quality of playfulness too here, like the unconscious patterns, releasing those. This deck has the running theme of this deck is to remember how connected we all are with one another as well too. And that when we release the pattern of disconnection and then need to be disconnected, it's okay to say, I want to disconnect from the old way of doing things. That's the source of rebellion. And that is the source. That's what happened when America, for example, went through in 1776, that whole revolution there was all about, all the Brits that had come over, they wanted to, avoid the taxes, the heavy tax. They wanted to build a new world. Like, a new world was built out of saying, no, I don't want what was. I want something new, something that we could all believe in, something that we're willing to fight for. So that's what this is implying, is cleaning that for yourself, Libra, understanding that you are the harmony bringer. And you can only bring harmony if you're willing to write a new story too, given that the old story doesn't work. So it's a really beautiful time for you to actually ask yourself what that story could be. You want to let go of the old story. It doesn't have to be drastic. It's more like, oh yeah, I'm telling the old story again. Wonder what I could replace that with, because we're replacing everything right now. And again, I have said this before, it can happen very quickly. Uranus is that planet that brings, abrupt changes, for example. But when we're in the caterpillar phase, when we're in the cocoon phase of metamorphosis, it doesn't feel very fast, right? So it doesn't feel so fast. But I believe that, we are moving through rapidly, especially towards the end of the year, when things start to feel much more collaborative and bringing together. But things have to go a little awry first. So be aware of and also surrendering your attachment, Libra, for the way you think things should be. What is fair, what is true, what is best for others may not be. You may not know what that is. So don't let go the attachment to the need to see things the way you want them to be. Now let's look at Scorpio. Scorpio is ripe, juicy, and ready this month, poised for success, potential waiting to be realized. So this is, she was supposed to look like a plum. When they came to me, it was like they were in a fruit. It was like a fruit being. Even the thing on their head was like this filigree around fruit. A lit up fruit. It's that sense of, I'm ripe for something, so I want to act. And the action is, now, action versus non-action. Non-action is also an action, right? So if you don't do something, I'm not doing something, it means that that's the action you chose. So this is about being very mindful of the fact that when you are ready for something, that you take the risk and go for it. If you wait too long, it loses its fuel, its juice, right? So this is a great month for all Scorpios to say, you know what? I'm going to speak my mind. I'm not going to worry about what other people think. I'm really ready for a change, and I'm going to step into that change, even if it's a little messy and gooey, but I'm really ready for this. And so very good for Scorpios. And taking your place in this major change that begins really in September. Sagittarius is another chance to be, again, second chances. The octopus, I'd never drawn an octopus before. It's kind of fun doing that. I don't know if you could see it. Not sure. Anyway, emotional healing, second chances, rebirth. It's a beautiful month for Sagittarius because there's a sense of a quality of that higher purpose, a higher truth that you're so good at looking for and speaking to. This is saying, you know what? I'm going to give myself and others a second chance. I feel like there's a second chance. I feel a renewed sense of hope and excitement. And that's, yeah. So, and that, you know, the octopus being, that's the little, the being that's in affinity to this blue being, the message was that, you know, when they cut the arm off, it grows back again. So no matter what, no matter how you may have been wounded, no matter what has prevented you from doing things in the past few years, this is a real sense of like, oh, it grew back, right? It's like, oh, the muscle's there again. I can do this. I really have a second chance in front of me here. I get to be hopeful and happy again, or like really. And again, the idea that I think the thread of hope is through the entire month as well. So let's take a look at Capricorn, a way out of the weeds in the protection position. This is Capricorn, clear way out, multitasking, getting organized, and you are not. This at the moment, you're kind of still wandering in the weeds. And this is interesting because there's when power structures shift, your rise to the top, or that, and again, you know, that when you think of that mountain goat, or that of the Capricorn that goes to the very top, because you reach that spiritual piece of that mountain, you're up there and you're like, oh, I have this greater vision. So your ambition may not always be material, but this is that you might have gotten caught up a little bit in the recent. And so you want to be sure that you don't get more deep into the weeds in September, and that you get much more organized, because there's a level of disorganization that doesn't make sense for you. And that's part of your sense of being repressed, that it's like, this isn't working. And you might find yourself overstimulated by the things that you see aren't working, but that's just so temporary. So I wouldn't let yourself get too involved, and keep your sights on what can work, what will work. Now we're looking at Aquarius, order in the forest, releasing resentments, making amends, cleansing. So this is an opportunity to let go of what didn't work in the past. And the order in the forest is that there is a natural order to all things. That includes kind of like how rage or anger or resentment can eat us up, but it has its own natural cycle until we actually hit bottom with it. So for some Aquarians, this is an extreme thing, extreme way of presenting this, but you could just say, I'm done. Like, I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired, and I'm out. Could also be like, I don't like myself. I don't like the way I feel about things right now. I'm going to make a real turn. So it's a big change month for Aquarius. And also saying, you know what, I need to apologize to myself or others. I need to cleanse. I need to really shower off the debris that I may have accumulated. And usually that debris is accumulated internally, and it's not so much an external decluttering, although that would be a really good thing to do. And last but not least, let's look at Pisces. Pisces in the midst of the radiant fire. Interesting, Pisces and Scorpio are the ones having the best time this month. When I channeled this being, they came to me like a match flame, like they kept showing up like a lit match, and part of their face was this kind of shiny bluish white, and the other one was red. And so this is why they were painted like this. But this is like the fire of passion and purpose and hope and inspiration. And for you, again, the cleansing fire is very spiritual. So there's this level of spiritual clarity for the Pisceans this month, and a renewal of the passion and the excitement and inspiration that you have to do the things that you thought you had to leave behind, for example. So I noticed this is a theme of a lot of like, we can, the things that we didn't get to do, we can now do because we're taking place in this change. Anyway, I hope that made sense to everybody. Love to see your comments. And thank you so much for watching and listening. This was your Astro Oracle reading for September. Love you lots. And yeah, very excited. Very excited about this next few months. It's going to be a roller coaster, but it's so exciting. I mean, we all chose to incarnate now. I mean, it's going to be interesting. I'm up for it. I hope you are too.